Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. Thank you for being here and clicking on this video when you can click on 700 other ones. So thanks for clicking on this video. I apologize for skipping this past weekend for a reaction video. It was my one of my parents' birthdays, and there was a lot going on this weekend. So I kind of just skipped the reaction because I was tired. So yeah. But I'll get back to it this upcoming weekend. So, don't worry about it. But yes, Wednesdays I do more teaching related things or analysis things. So I figured I liked giving those songwriting tips last week. So I thought it would be good to do 3 of the most helpful tips I've learned throughout the years of learning guitar. So the first one, this one is not very technical, but honestly is the most important, which is learn songs and stuff that you personally like. That means if you like Knocked Loose, try learning songs that are similar to Knocked Loose or Knocked Loose songs themselves, or if you can't play Knocked Loose yet, then find stuff that is a little bit easier than that. But sort of try and stay in the genre or area in which you're really interested in playing, which sounds basic or like a given, but especially if you're listening to this and you are a music teacher yourself, I can't stress that stuff enough of really letting your student tell you what they want to learn or really asking them what they are interested in and kind of also why they're learning guitar, whether it's for songwriting, whether it's to play like metal riffs or they just kind of want to play bluesy stuff. It really depends. And I think it's important to give students that are learning stuff that they're interested in. Or if you're here as a student listening, or you're just kind of here because you want to learn guitar and you're not really in any sort of lessons, which is also fine. Yeah, just make sure you pick stuff that you're learning that you're really interested in. There's always stuff that's good to learn that, a song that maybe has good techniques, but you're not necessarily in love with. But I would stress the importance of stuff that you like, because not only will you learn the song most likely faster than you would a song that you're not interested in, but you'll be more excited to learn the next song. So one of the biggest things for me when it comes to learning any sort of specifically musical instrument, but really learning anything, is just like keeping your interest in that subject is probably the hardest, because if you learn something that's too hard or you get bored easily in it, you really don't want to learn it anymore, and you're probably going to stop wanting to learn. If you're into just more the singer-songwriter stuff, or you want to learn more R&B, really lean into that specific genre and those songs and shape your curriculum around that, because if you're learning metal riffs, you're probably going to learn more single note playing techniques and maybe more scales and stuff, right? But when you're doing R&B, you're probably going to learn more like 7th chords, major 7 and then minor 7, and then all these kind of chords, which you don't really use in metal. And I think personally for me, I like to learn all of it, but that's just me, and I'm like a nerd and a weenie, so like that's like different. It's good to learn all that stuff, but if you're going for one specific genre that you really, really want to learn and really want to maybe even start writing guitar for, then really lean into that genre and kind of what they play, So if you're into metal, then you probably want to learn more scales and better picking technique, what's alternate picking versus economy picking, and how to sweep pick after, over time you'll learn that, and learning how to palm mute and things like that. Whereas like R&B, you don't palm mute really. You use a lot of chords, or if you want to learn jazz, then that's a whole different beast of learning all these different chord shapes, chord tones, all the theory, how to improvise and things like that. So yeah, the first one is not really technique based, but I think is one of the most important things to keep in mind, whether you're teaching yourself or you have a teacher or you are a teacher watching this. If you are a teacher watching and your student wants to play Taylor Swift, freaking let them play Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter whether you like the music or not. I think it's dumb. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I think it's dumb when teachers just like try and push their agenda or their interests on their students and are like, you need to learn this. Like, I understand really giving the students a technique that worked for you and kind of helping them in that way. But it's also good to let the student have their own interests be known and heard and acknowledged in this sort of setting, because otherwise it's very easy to scare people away from like really learning the instrument if you're just being a dictator about what they learn. So just keep that in mind if you are a teacher. Tip number 2 is just relax. And this is physically and mentally. It kind of goes hand in hand, but this is so important in any aspect of where your learning progression is on guitar, because and I'm sort of taking this as from my martial arts classes, especially Tai Chi, because my teacher's always like yelling at me and like chopping my shoulder down and be like, relax your shoulder, blah, blah, your shoulder's sticking up, stuff like that. But that is such a big point of tension in guitar as well, especially your left shoulder. If you're playing a right-handed guitar, is your left shoulder may hike up a little bit, may tense a little bit if you're trying to get a weird chord shape, or your elbow might be out a little too much. Like, remember to relax all of your muscles as much as you can, right? There's going to be some tension because you're going to have to hold the chord down and make sure the notes ring correctly. But it's important to remember to relax. I think especially when you're learning new stuff, and this goes with anything, especially if you're learning new stuff, your muscles tend to want to tense, or if you're new at guitar, the chord shapes are weird. When will you use this sort of hand shape besides playing guitar? Like, it's a really strange shape. So it's just something you have to get used to, but I like to tell people to relax into it, which sounds weird, but so you say you're playing A major, just an A major bar chord, right? Which looks easy for me, but how many years have I been playing A major? Of course it's going to look easy for me because I've played it how many hundreds, maybe thousands of times of doing the same shape over and over again. So when you're learning, it's going to feel really freaking weird to play because it's not natural. It's not in your everyday sort of like movements. So this is where the relaxation comes in. So you have the chord shape down, you figured out where it is. Now hold it down and see how much you can relax your muscles into it. And then let go, and then do that again. Or if you're trying to learn a progression, say you're going D minor bar chord on the 5th string to G minor on the 6th. So you're going, then just practice. Just remember to relax first and relax into that, hold it, and then move to the next one. And don't tense while you're moving to the next one. Try and stay relaxed because people tend to start tensing up because they're trying to figure out where the G minor is. So try and relax, and stay in that state, and then go into that G minor. And do that over time. Another pointer I like to give for this, especially when it comes to getting chord shapes, is just don't even strum the shape, but just practice putting your hands where the chord is. So say it's D minor again, just put your hand down, take it off, put your hand down, and just do that and see how fast you can get it. That also helps because the faster you can get this chord shape, the more relaxed you're going to be because it's just going to become so easy that you don't have to think about it, right? So all this stuff goes hand in hand. It's kind of about muscle memory, but at the same time, you want your muscles to remember that it's not supposed to be a super tense thing. So I don't think the muscle relaxation is talked about enough personally, but it also is good when you're playing advanced stuff, because when you're trying to play really fast stuff, really fast runs and stuff, I find myself holding my breath. I find myself tensing this hand, my picking hand, too much when I'm trying to like really play fast notes, and like that is not good for playing fast notes. You got to be relaxed enough to let the pick move, to let your wrist move and all that. So there's always room for more relaxation in probably in any aspect of your playing. especially when you're learning a new song, a new lick, whatever it is. But so keep that in mind next time you practice, to really relax and see how much that makes a difference for you. Yeah, so tip number 3, some people might hate, especially guitarists might hate that I'm going to say this, but I can't stress enough how important it is to use a metronome to practice, especially if you're doing scales or technique related things, because I think people, especially guitarists, discount how important or how useful a metronome can be in improving your technique. So say, for example, you are playing scales, you're playing your scales. But you'd be surprised how when you're not using a metronome, you're like, oh, it sounds fine. But then when you use a metronome, you incorporate it and you're playing, whatever BPM you want to play. I start pretty slow and work my way up. Say you're starting at like 86 or something, and you're just playing eighth notes. You're going up the scale. You'd be surprised how uneven your scales might be. Like you might stress certain notes more than others. Just random notes, and you're like, why am I stressing that one more? A lot of it just has to do with, it feels more comfortable when I play a certain note in my hand, so I naturally tend to like stress that note without even noticing it. So on that front, it's very helpful in evening out the volume of the notes and how much pressure you're putting. Maybe you're rushing a note more than another in a scale, so it's really helpful in just evening you're picking out, your timing out. Or you can even do this exercise I like to do where you play quarter notes with the metronome, so you're just going, then you're playing eighth notes, and you want to get the eighth notes to be as even as possible, and that's why you use the metronome, because it's much easier to tell if you're playing it really as evenly as you can. Stuff like that. And I'm not using a metronome right now, but I can even tell some of the notes are, the first time I played it was a little uneven. But when you play it more often, and especially like doing triplets, you tend to stress more notes than others. Which sounds like, it doesn't sound like anything without the metronome, but when you're playing it with the metronome, it's you'll notice it pretty significantly if the triplets are kind of uneven or not. So using a metronome not only for scales and things, I find is super, super helpful. It helps you even out your picking technique as well as your timing, things like that. But when you're learning, a new song or a new lick, and you really want to get it down good, especially with the proper technique and things like that, it's good to slow that riff or lick down so you can really just focus on it really slow. Say it's that. So you start really slow. And then you can increase it by 4 BPM each time. And then you go. And then eventually you get fast enough where you're like, oh, you know what, I can do it. So it's like, it's one of those, it's very helpful in working up to a certain speed if you want it. I think guitarists definitely should use metronomes more. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, metronomes for like classical musicians and things like that. But like, I think it's very, very helpful and very useful in the context of guitar playing as well. Even if you're practicing easy stuff, again, like scales, if how many years have you been playing the major scale and things like that? But there's always room for improvement anywhere, including me. So, it's just keep in mind those things, and there's always ways to better your technique. I just literally use a metronome app on my phone called Soundbrenner, which I've had for years. It's on the App Store, so it should, I can link it down below, but you can really get any metronome app and just use that on your phone. It's very easy, very useful. So keep that in mind if you haven't really tried using your metronome. I would be interested to see comments on how it really, if you noticed any unevenness in your playing when you start using a metronome. I hope you guys found this useful and helpful. I hope it was a little bit inspiring too, to go practice, or learn new stuff. I might do more detailed tips about certain techniques, like maybe, for example, 3 helpful tips for getting bar chords down faster or something like, more specific tips and things like that. If anybody has requests for specific tips on different techniques and whatnot, please feel free to comment it down below. I really love teaching this type of stuff. So yeah, there's no shortage in my brain of stuff I could like pull out and like tell you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tips video. I kind of like this more than like sometimes more than like the song breakdowns, but I do like doing that. But I also like doing these sort of tips as well. But yeah, I'll be back for the reaction video this weekend. I apologize again for not doing last weekend. Maybe I'll do 2 to make it up. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not promising that, but maybe. I hope you have a good rest of your week. Don't forget to drink water and rest, because I know all of us in life are busy and want to stay busy, but it is important to rest and drink water so you don't look like a shriveled up potato. That doesn't make sense. It's fine anyway. I will see you guys this weekend.